Now that I've hit 20,000 subscribers, the higher-ups at HarmCorp have told me that I need to make some changes. Because I live in the UK and because I grew up here, and most of my viewers are American, I need to make sure everything I put out there is suitable for a US audience. I don't want to cause a kerfuffle through my ignorance of your culture, so I need to be a bit more careful from here on out. Maybe you've noticed localization happening already. That's right. I used to have music in the background. I've noticed over there in the States you're very keen to accommodate Islamists, so I thought the least I could do to respect your ever-adapting and progressing culture would be to remove something they'd like to see outlawed. Without the music, it's still clearly a harmful opinion video, and most people seem fine with the change. Let's continue with the easier adaptations. Some people have a missing eye, or conditions that cause problems for their ability to perceive depth, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a two-dimensional brain. It's the same design. I've used it loads before, some people seem to prefer it, so it's an easy decision to improve my video's inclusiveness. Now, when you talk about inclusion, you almost always then talk about accessibility. My videos are rarely scripted, and I never put captions up, so it might seem obvious to start putting the effort in and doing that, as there's a significant number of deaf people in the US. But I'm not going to, because that could create a larger problem. Adding subtitles or a transcript or even signing along in a little box at the side of the video, these are all part of deaf culture. As someone who has hearing privilege and who benefits from systemic autism, it would be cultural appropriation for me to engage in these practices, so I won't. Outrage avoided. I'm also aware that over there in the US, you have a vast number of differently weighted individuals, and they're often very self-conscious. So as to not risk them feeling like they're being taunted for their lack of agility and mobility, I'm going to slow the brain down a bit. There we go. Sluggishness is perfectly fine and beautiful in its own way, and it's still the brain you know, love, and want. Barely anything's changed. Speaking of beauty, I know the colors of my logo look good, but it's important to also note the highly gendered nature of the palette used. Blue and pink. Not sure that's going to fly in the land of freedom. And what will the feminists think about the blue being on top? Problem solved. Now it's more like a jet of masculine blue flame promoting pink feminine intelligence. But what about the people who hate women? As we've all read in the news, they're everywhere, and numbers are on the rise. They're going to be outraged at this. And if misogyny is part of American culture, we need to respect that. Increasingly, too, objectification of women in media is being seen as unacceptable. What if this is interpreted as reducing women to their brain? Luckily, we can kill two birds with one stone here. The style's all thrown off now. Localization shouldn't cause that. Great, everything's in harmony again. And the colorblind aren't going to be upset about missing out on anything. Visuals sorted. Classic harmful opinions, plus cultural sensitivity. But there's more to this than just the way it looks. I don't want to brag, but I get quite a lot of messages from gay men who like my voice. And there are two problems there. Sexual content might get you slated in press. And there are plenty of homophobes who might feel uncomfortable listening to my voice knowing that, so we're just gonna cut the bass out. That should do the job. Now, my voice is still male, which might set off a fear response in the minds of women. So I'm just gonna start whispering and trying to use a higher pitched voice. Maybe you could even pretend I'm a woman, but not one who's more attractive than you. Much nicer. Finally, there is also of course going to be a slight change in content. From now on, this channel's going to be dedicated to discussing the weather. How can you get more inclusive or inoffensive than that? I do hope you all enjoy this new style, because I'm ready to take America by storm.